It's time for the hot topic of the hour. The election now 3 weeks away, November 5th. New polling shows the race tighter than ever, with President Trump pulling much farther ahead. An NBC News poll shows former President Trump and Vice President Harris are in a dead heat at 48% each. That's a major shift from Harris's 5-point lead just 1 month ago. The latest ABC News Ipsos poll survey shows Harris polling 50% to Trump's 48%. Harris's support dropping again from a 6-point lead in that poll just last month. I spoke with former President Trump about the state of the race just days ago. Watch. We're just a few weeks away, 20 plus days away from the election. How do you feel about the race?
I feel great. We're leading in all swing states. We're leading mostly in nationals, I think. I'm a believer in polls. Some of them are fake, like a lot of writers. But I'm a believer in polls, and we're leading in just about every swing state.
What do you want to say to those voters out there who might be undecided, who don't know what they're going to do yet?
We have something sort of special going on. We have tremendous support. They're so tired of seeing what's happened to this country. They're so tired of seeing the incompetence, seeing the border. And I think the border is maybe a bigger deal than even inflation. Inflation is a massive word. The bad economy is massive.
So let's talk about where we are here. Liz Peek, if you go to a site called Polymarket, you can see Trump pulling ahead. This site is where people put their money where their mouth is, and they actually bet on predictions. And Trump is pulling ahead. Your thoughts on where this race stands right now, Liz Peek?
Well, I think he clearly has the momentum, Maria, and it's not hard to understand why. Kamala Harris's campaign was built on froth and joy and a lack of substance, and I think that's caught up with her. You had an initial joyful reaction to Joe Biden getting out of the race, but then people want some substance, Maria, and I think, it doesn't matter what voting bloc you look at, including Hispanics and blacks, they want to know that their lives are going to be better under Kamala Harris. And what has she told us? She told us she wouldn't change anything of the last 3.5 years, supposing then that the life will continue just exactly as it has been. I think it's unbelievably pandering and insulting to go after black men with the agenda that she has rolled out, assuming that really the only business they can prosper in is cultivating or selling marijuana, talking about issues other than what applies to every American, the cost of living, crime in the streets, the open border, which is driving down wages for low-income Americans. Those are the issues she should address, but she cannot because she's responsible for the problem.
Well, it's absolutely right, Liz. You are spot on. And Cheryl, I think this whole joy campaign has moved into a new phase of fear campaign, and that is why she's coming up with this plan. This is outrageous, so stereotypical, to come up with an element to entice black men by legalizing marijuana.
Yeah,
I mean, she's trying to shore up her support for black men as November 5th approaches. I want to go through this plan with you, okay? Because the first part is to just give away free money. Here's 20 grand, okay? She wants to give out 1 million fully forgivable loans for black entrepreneurs, legalize recreational marijuana on a federal level, launch a health equity initiative focused on black men, whatever that means, lower rent and provide down payment assistance to triple the number of first-time black homeowners. Again, a lot of this stuff is already out there. So the new parts of this plan, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cheryl, is a free money, $20,000, a fully forgivable loan of 20 grand.
Correct.
And legalizing marijuana at the federal level.
Right.
What else is she doing for black men? And why is this so incredibly stereotypical, as if everybody doesn't want 20 grand?
Because, so first off, the polling is showing that the campaign is concerned that these black male voters are not going to show up at all. They're not necessarily concerned that they're going to go for Trump, although we have seen more of a shift in that demographic towards Donald Trump. Yeah, we have seen that. And she does not have the same support among black voters that Biden did in 2020. That's the biggest thing. But, the Wall Street Journal editorial board points out about this entire plan you just went through this morning, in particular, giving that money based on race away, that is unconstitutional. Todd Pyro talked about this morning, and they say allocating government loan forgiveness on the basis of race is unconstitutional. Todd's question of mine is this even legal We don't think it is, but this SOS that the Journal is calling this is certainly the real Hail Mary 3 weeks from the election.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's an SOS, according to Barack Obama as well. He decided to lecture everybody. He comes out and lectures black male voters last week while campaigning in Pittsburgh. He has the audacity to say that the reason that the brothers are not behind Trump, not behind Kamala, is because they're afraid of a woman in the White House. What? Listen to this.
We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. You're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president.
So now comes the shame. He's trying to shame everybody out of this. The Washington Post out with an op-ed titled, "The Scolder-in-Chief Hits the Stump for Harris," writing Obama's ploy could backfire. Insulting black men is a bizarre way to try to win their votes, Rebecca.
Absolutely. I mean, Maria, I don't understand at all that philosophy of let me go out there and lecture you about why you're not supporting her at the same level you supported me. It might not be gender related at all. It could be the fact that we haven't heard any substantive policies. We know that she doesn't know a lot about the economy, and that's one of the biggest concerns of this voting bloc this year. So, Maria, it's a mess.
More divisive policies, divide everybody, as if everybody doesn't want the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, prices that are within reach, an economy that is growing with job opportunities, the right foreign policies to avoid wars everywhere you look. Everybody wants that. White women, black men, and everybody else. We'll be right back. You're watching Mornings with Maria, live on Fox Business. Stay with us. Yesterday, I saw a video of both Trump and Kamala talking about Columbus Day. Well, no, she was talking about Indigenous Day. And, you know, so Trump comes out and he says, as long as I'm around, if it's in my power, I will keep it Columbus Day. And then you hear Kamala Harris come out at the podium and she says, well, happy Indigenous Day, everyone. Rebecca, your reaction?
I mean, it's so sad, Maria. It's like, what is happening to our country, and how does half the country vote for a person that talks about, you know, stars and the sky when she's talking about crime statistics? I don't understand why this race is so close, other than these polls just have to be inaccurate, or the American people are just in their social media and they're not paying attention.
Well, when you look at actually prediction markets, like a poly market, you actually see where people put their money where their mouth is. Trump is way, way ahead, Liz. I'm not sure about these polls either. It's very suspicious to me that they're so close when you have such different policies, and she hasn't done a press conference to explain her policies at all.
What
and he
policies?
keeps talking about his policies, and then there they are with completely different assessments of Columbus Day.
Yeah, I think it's an incredibly stupid time for the left to come out with yet another social issue like renaming Columbus Day. Maria, there are how many tens of millions of Americans are of Italian heritage? And in particular, in some of these swing states, they're a very important voting bloc. So why would you raise this at this sort of perilous time when already Americans are so sick and tired of identity politics? And I really think that's across the board. People don't want these kinds of arguments, and they sure care more about how much the bread on the table costs.
Yeah. Yesterday, Dan Loeb retweeted Kamala Harris calling it Indigenous Peoples Day, and he said, well, I guess she doesn't want the Catholic Italian vote. Maybe not.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, there's this. Nearly 200,000 homes are still without power. Time for the hot topic of the hour. Former President Bill Clinton discussing the death of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, who was killed by an illegal migrant in February. Watch.
Trump killed the bill. The bill was being written by senior Republicans in the Senate, and he killed the bill. Why? You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up. So we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work.
Clinton is claiming that Trump stopped a bill that would have secured the border and helped vet migrants. Not really. The bill Clinton was referring to was declared dead this year. The Venezuelan national accused of killing Riley entered and was released into the country in 2022. Okay. The Trump campaign responded, and they say this: Kamala Harris claimed the border was secure just days after Laken Riley's illegal immigrant killer, Jose Ibarra, crossed into the nation. Ibarra was caught at the border and then released into the country by Kamala Harris, says the Trump campaign. Liz, I don't know if Bill Clinton meant to step in it. That's exactly what he did with those comments. He reminded everybody that a beautiful nursing student, young, vibrant, with her life ahead of her, was murdered by an illegal migrant who came into the country on Kamala Harris's watch and open border.
Yeah, that was a pretty big oops, I would say, Maria. And by the way, having Bill Clinton back on the campaign trail, certainly it doesn't seem like we're moving forward, which is what Kamala Harris seems to want to do.
Turn the page,
This illegal immigration thing is on Kamala Harris. Everybody knows it. All these people who came in 3 years before this bill really ever got to the table. So the bill is completely inconsequential. And to your point earlier, Maria, it would not have secured the border. There are far too many loopholes to go into here. But the answer is that had nothing to do with securing the border. All the bills coming from the Biden White House and from Kamala Harris have had to do with securing a pathway to citizenship for people already in the country. That is their big push. And Republicans have rightly said, no, thank you.
Yeah, exactly right. Rebecca, your thoughts?
Well, you know, Kamala Harris has an uncanny ability, Maria, to disassociate her past with her future. I mean, and in fact, a lot of her speeches always ended with seeing the future unburdened by the past. Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to be unburdened by our Constitution or our Declaration of Independence or our God-given inalienable rights that don't come from the government. No, thank you to all of that. And she's her own worst enemy. You know, she doesn't make any sense. But then to send out Bill Clinton and Obama, both of them, I think, did a terrible job for her, stumping for her. Bill Clinton is saying, oh, her immigration policies, they're not vetting them, and thank you for telling us the truth. And then, of course, Obama is lecturing black men for not supporting Kamala Harris, maybe not because she's a female, maybe because she has no policies.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Cheryl?
Well, Maria, you know, Newt Gingrich joined me on Friday, and we talked about the fact that Obama and Clinton were going to be hitting the trail. And Newt's opinion here is that this actually makes her look weak, and it's a mistake because you've got two former presidents, leaders, and that he says that that's going to make her look weaker because in comparison to them, she doesn't have the credibility, she doesn't have the background, et cetera, et cetera. As far as Bill Clinton stepping in it, which he just did, as we would say in Texas, you know, he's got, look at this. He's got his good old boy hat on. He's got the shirt. They're sending him into these rural counties in Georgia because they know that that's where they are in trouble. And, you know, if you look at all the polling, and of course we look at this every day, Georgia is crucial, and she's not doing so well in those rural counties, and that's why he's out there. But why even bring up Laken Riley?
That's really the question.
Why did he even say that?
Because it's a stunning reflection of what's going on in America right now. He was right to bring it up. That's exactly what we should be bringing up when we're talking about this wide open border, because the impact of this wide open border has been deadly. He knows it. I know it. You know it. We all know it. And so he's not hiding it. But Maria, you know, the bill, I'm so tired of these talking points around this Senate bill. Everybody knows that Senate bill was not a good bill. It was a bill that allowed 5,000 illegals into the country every day. And, you know, we already have 5, 6, 7. At the peak, it was 8 and 9,000 people coming into this country every day. Now we're up to 10 plus million. Yeah. We need to take a minute and assess where the money is coming from to house and care for all of these people, and whether or not this is the right policy, not continuing the flow of 5,000 people coming in every day.
Maria, can I just add that Bill Clinton did mention something I think everyone's very concerned about, which is the vetting issue, because we know that terrorists have come across the border as well, and people from Afghanistan and other countries who have not been vetted properly. And my guess is we're going to find out a lot more about those people in coming months. This is a real security threat to the country.
Absolutely, 100%. That is exactly the issue. There's no vetting. We're just allowing people to come in without vetting. Look, no one's talking about legal immigration. The Republicans want legal immigration. Everybody knows we need more people and we need more workers, but you can't just let people in willy-nilly and not actually understand where they're coming from, what they want to do, and how they would contribute to this country. You've got people waiting for a decade to come in. They're trying to get citizenship, and they still haven't gotten their citizenship. Compare that to the people who are just walking across the border, getting away, 2 million gotaways, doing what they want. We don't know what their motivation is. That's the issue.
Well, you know what, Maria, is happening here in New York City now with Nicaragua is that they're not being arrested because most of them are minors. You've got these TDA teenagers, and they're in mass in Times Square. And you know where they're operating out of? A taxpayer paid for migrant shelter called the Roosevelt. And that is their base of operations. And they've got guns, they're committing robberies, and they're getting more and more emboldened. So you want to see what illegal immigration does, walk 2 blocks from these studios.
Our audience is well aware of this. We've been talking about Tren de Aragua now for a couple of years. Just one more element that shows you how deadly this wide open border policy has been, allowing in these dangerous gangs who are creating death and destruction in America. We're just getting started this hour. We've got a lot coming up. We are exactly 3 weeks on Goldman. Thank you, Cheryl. It is time now for the word on Wall Street. Top investors watching your money. Joining me right now is Claro Advisors Managing Principal and Founder Ryan Belanger. Also with us is Rebecca Walser this morning. Ryan, thanks very much for joining the conversation. It is good to see you. And Rebecca, I want to kick things off with you exactly where we just left off on Goldman earnings. Third quarter earnings on deck. You've got Bank of America reporting a double beat. Profits were down as its income from customer interest payments shrank. Banks have been paying out higher interest rates on intense competition for deposits. We are also looking at Goldman Sachs benefiting from a strong capital markets environment. We're looking ahead to Citigroup at the top of the next hour. Rebecca, what is your reaction to the earnings so far?
Yeah, well, I would say that Bank of America, I would make a distinction, Maria, between that and the Wells and the JP Morgan Chase results that we saw last week, because definitely Bank of America, their profit, net income year over year is down 12%. Their net investment income quarter over from quarter last year to quarter 3 this year is down 3%. And we were seeing improvements with Chase and Wells, and them giving, even Chase giving revised guidance for the rest of 2024, stating that they thought that we would even see even further improvements with NII into fourth quarter and next year. Now, interestingly enough, this Goldman that just crossed, Maria, that is really following the JP Morgan Chase investment banking fees. We expected 15% for both companies, and JP Morgan came in at 31%, and obviously Goldman coming in at a 20% increase in investment banking fees. This goes to show you that the capital markets are ready for M&A. The capital markets are ready for liquidity-based events and transactions with these, what they see, Maria, maybe not necessarily just with 150 basis point cut, but what they see coming, because remember, the Fed has projected 2 additional cuts in 2024, even though I know that we have some governors and some pushback in these last couple of days. But 2025 will have 4 more cuts, they've said, and 2026 will have 2 more cuts. So they see that these costs of capital is coming down, and there's a lot more deal making for this investment banking fees.
Yeah, I mean, finally, deal making after a huge, year plus, where we actually had a freeze in lots of activity. Ryan, how about tech? I mean, NVIDIA at another all-time high. It is now valued at nearly $3.4 trillion. The company continues to ride this massive wave of demand for its AI chips, alone in its category, seemingly. The stock is lower this morning after that huge move yesterday to another new high, because there are reports that the Biden administration officials are mulling, discussing a cap on NVIDIA's sales of advanced chips to countries in the Persian Gulf. Ryan, your reaction?
Yeah, good morning. I mean, it's been such an incredible run for NVIDIA and all the chip stocks in general. If you look at the semiconductor index, Maria, it's up 55% year over year. It's just remarkable for performance. So if I'm an investor in those stocks, I'm wondering, should I be rebalancing? You know, is this too much? I've seen this movie before. It's been 20 years since the tech bubble, but these things do happen, and there is excess that happens in markets. And I just want to remind investors, I think it's important to kind of know what you own in the portfolio. These stocks are having a tremendous day right now, and the last couple of years has been very remarkable. But things, mean revert. I think it's important for investors to understand how much risk is in their actual portfolios. And we don't even know what the benefits of all this AI is anyway. It's basically an arms race. Who can spend the most money to get all the chips? And NVIDIA is the main beneficiary of that right now. But we don't even know what the capabilities are. And I think that's why you're seeing some companies take a more measured approach to what they're going to be spending for CapEx in this category, because it's just too much unknown for the benefit. But the beneficiary is NVIDIA for sure. Investors have been rewarded. And now it's time to wonder, should I take some off the table?
I mean, there's also this unknown around Taiwan, right? I mean, these chips that NVIDIA produces are produced in Taiwan. So we've got the geopolitical questions there, as well as China tries hard to reunify.
Yeah, I think the geopolitical risks are, should be looked at a little bit more. I mean, obviously, specifically speaking about the current conflicts, but there could be more that are cropping up here, and I think investors should also be, cognizant of those risks in the portfolio. Now, for me, I'm betting long term on American ingenuity, capitalistic instincts. The stock market has always prevailed, and if you look at the long history, but certainly it's not without hiccups, and we've got a lot of major conflicts going on in the market right now. I think investors have just turned a blind eye to it, and I hope that they're okay, but I think people should be a little bit more careful and knowing what they have in their portfolio.
We'll watch it all, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan Balanger. Rebecca, you're with us all morning. We're grateful. Stay with us. We'll be right back.